Before we go to the main topic or main discussion, what do you think is the connection between these two pictures? Sa left, makikita nating building and infrastructure na damage, building na nag-collapse. On the other hand, this one appeared to be a tsunami. What would be the connection of these two events? Many events could cause infrastructural damages, and also many events could cause tsunami. But what event could cause these two? And this is earthquake. So on this discussion, we will talk about the different earthquake hazard for us to be more knowledgeable about it and for us to be calm, safe, survive in case these things happen, as we are all living in the Philippines and we are firmly exposed to earthquake and other phenomenon hazardous. The objectives of this topic are: first, introduction to earthquake; second, destructive earthquake in the Philippines; third, PBOX intensity scale; fourth, earthquake hazard map; and last, earthquake preparedness. How we define earthquake? Earthquake is also known as a tremor or a natural phenomenon characterized by a pebble shaking to violent trembling of group produced by a sudden displacement of rocks or rock material below the Earth's surface. Ano-ano ba yung mga magiging impacts ng earthquake? So some of the common impacts of earthquake include structural damage to buildings, fires, damage to bridge and highways, tsunami, and more. Pero the type of impacts is also depend kung gaano kalakas yung lindol at kung saan ito located. These are the four types of earthquake: the tectonic, volcanic, collapse, and explosion earthquake. We are not going to discuss each of them, but I'll just give you an overview about it. Tectonic earthquakes are those generated by the sudden displacement along faults in the solid and rigid layer of the earth. Induced by a rising lava or magma beneath active volcanoes is called volcanic earthquake. Collapse earthquake, on the other hand, are earthquakes generally smaller and most commonly occur near underground mines. Remember that collapse earthquakes are instigated by the pressure generated within the rocks. Lastly, we have the explosion earthquake. It's an earthquake that result of the detonation of a nuclear or a chemical device. There is a time that after an earthquake, there will be a fault. So a fault is a fissure or a zone of weakness of the earth crust where movement or displacement has occurred or may occur again. Fault have three types. We have normal fault, reverse fault, and strike-slip fault. This is just to show you that earthquakes do not just happen by plates moving sideways, but upwards and downwards too. However, earthquakes do not happen without respective due. Earthquakes can be triggered by such human activities or natural occurrences. Thereof, what really causes an earthquake to happen? And for further more knowledge, let's watch this video.
What causes earthquakes?
I, me, and myself.
Yeah, you show off. An earthquake is violent shaking of the Earth's crust. The Earth's crust is a hard outer covering made up of many pieces called tectonic plates. These plates are always moving. However, the motion is very slow. In a year, they move only 2 to 5 centimeters.
My hair grows faster than their movements.
Absolutely. Mostly when these tectonic plates move, they brush against each other without causing great damage. However, sometimes they get stuck and cannot easily slide against each other. But the plates still keep pushing, thus creating pressure. Eventually, the pressure builds up so much that one of the plates suddenly moves above the other, or they may crash into each other, causing the crust to shake violently, thus creating an earthquake.
So what are the potential earthquake hazard we must be aware of? So again, let's recall the term hazard. So hazard means a source or situation with potential for harm in terms of human injury or ill health. damage to property, damage to the environment, or a combination of these. The first one is ground shaking. So it's a destructive up, down, and sideways movement or motion experienced during earthquake. So a strong ground shaking may cause objects to fall, break, collapse, and etc. Next is liquefaction. It is a process that transforms the behavior of body of sediments that from solid that of a liquid when subjected to extreme intense shaking. So as a result, any heavy loads on top of the sediments will either sink or tilt as the sediment could no longer hold the load. So it looked like this. Gaya ng nangyari sa Dagupan City noong July 16, 1990 earthquake. Next hazard is ground rupture. So ground rupture occurs when ground movement happens on a fault line and break through to the surface. It is a displacement on the ground due to the movement of fault. This will be experienced by area where fault passes through. Note that hindi lahat ng cracks na nakikita ng mga tao pagkatapos ng earthquake ay fault. Some may be just superficial crack dahil sa ground failure. Next one is landslide. Landslide may happen during and after an earthquake when weakened section of fails off primarily due to gravity. Landslide is failures in step slow triggered by an earthquake like this one. So many landslides occur as a result of strong ground shaking, such as slope on the mountainsides along a national highway on Nueva Ecija and a road leading to Baguio City which look like this. The last hazard is tsunami. The word tsunami is a Japanese word means harbor waves. The term is now used to mean series of waves. So tsunami is a series of sea waves resulting from the disturbance of ocean by an earthquake. Example of the tsunami events in the Philippines are the August 1976 Morogoro earthquake and tsunami. So this picture shows the tsunami damage at Barangay Tibuan, Mindanao. Now, we will talk about the next objective of our topic, which is destructive earthquake in the Philippines. We are going to talk about the 5 most dangerous or 5 most destructive earthquake in our history. Number 5, Bohol earthquake. October 15, 2013, a strong earthquake measuring 7.2 on earthquake scale, which is classified very strong earthquake. The epicenter is located on the island province of Bohol in central Visayas. The earthquake affected over 1.2 million people, 222 people died, 195 from Bohol. 976 people were injured and 8 people were missing. Over 79,000 structures including homes, roads, churches, school and public buildings were damaged, of which 14,500 were totally destroyed, resulting in over 340,000 displaced people. Number 4, Mindoro earthquake. The 1994 Mindoro earthquake occurred 3 p.m. on November 15 with a magnitude of 7.1, which classified very strong. The combined effects of the earthquake and tsunami killed a total of 78 people injured, 430 damaged or destroyed, 7,566 houses in 13 out of 15 municipalities damaged, road destroyed or damaged, 24 bridges, and sink numerous fishing boats. There was no time to issue a warning. The epicenter of the earthquake is located in the Verde Island. Casiguran earthquake. On August 2, 1968, an earthquake intensity of Bill in the Rossi 4 intensity scale rocked the town of Casiguran, Aurora. 270 persons were killed and 261 were injured as a result of the earthquake. The six-story building in Binondo, Manila collapsed instantly during the quake, while several major buildings near Binondo and Escolta area in Manila sustained varying levels of structural damage. Luzon earthquake. 1990 earthquake, 4:26 a.m. of July 1990. The shaking lasted for about 45 seconds. The earthquake that hit the island of Luzon in 1990 was no such case. Recorded at magnitude 7.8, the quake caused major damage to surrounding cities and claimed the lives of thousands. As estimated, 2,412 lives were lost during that day. Thousands were injured. Number 1. Morro Gulf earthquake. A few minutes after the last stroke of midnight on August 17, 1976, a violent earthquake occurred in the island of Mindanao, spawning a tsunami that devastated more than 700 kms of coastline bordering Morro Gulf in North Celebes Sea. This offshore event generated by Cotabato Trends, a less prominent trend system in the Philippines, was the largest tsunami-Geni earthquake that resulted in massive destruction of properties and great loss of lives. According to the survey during the event, the tsunami responsible for 85% of deaths, 65% of injuries, and 95% of those missing. After the sea spent its fury and rolled back to its natural flow, thousands of people were left dead, others homeless or missing, and millions of pesos lost with damages of properties. Properties lost not only included establishment for residential and commercial use, but also bancas that as a whole represent the livelihood of hundreds of families. PBOX Earthquake Intensity Scale. So ano bang tinatawag na PBOX Earthquake Intensity Scale or mas kilala bilang PEIS? So it is a seismic scale used and developed by the Philippines Institute of Volcanology and Seismology to measure the intensity of an earthquake. The PEIS has 10 intensity scale represented in Roman numerals with intensity 1 being the weakest and intensity 10 being the strongest. Intensity 1 is scarcely perceptible or napakahina. Kaya kung titignan po natin yung description, sabi dyan, perceptible to people under favorable circumstances. Talagang napakahina at kung titignan natin yung tao nakahiga pero mapapansin mo delicately balanced object are disturbed slightly. Still water in containers oscillates slowly. Dito po pwede kang magduda na lumilindol ba talaga at pwede mong tanungin sa mga kasama mo. Pero kapag lumingon ka sa mga hanging object sa bahay ay pwedeng gumalaw siya. Pero karamihan po, ito po ay hindi natin nararamdaman or not felt. Next is yung tinatawag po nating slightly felt or sa Tagalog bahagyang naramdaman. Felt only by a few people at rest, especially on the upper floors building. Intensity 3, weak or mahina. Standing motor cars may rock slightly. Many people do not recognize it. It's an earthquake. Intensity 4, moderately strong or bahagyang malakas. Ang sabi po dito na kung ikaw ay slightly sleepers, pwede kang magising. Vibration is felt like the passing of heavy truck. Next is intensity 5, strong or malakas. Generally felt by most people indoors and outdoors. Many sleeping people awakened and pwede na rin po sa iba sa sobrang takot mapapalabas na. And yung mga hanging object ay talagang nagsiswing na. Shaking of leaves, twigs and trees is noticeable. Next is intensity 6, very strong or sa Tagalog napakalakas. So dito na po lahat tayo ay mararamdaman na natin yung lindol and may tendency na rin to run outside. May tendency na rin po na mawalan tayo ng balanse habang naglalakad. At maobserbahan na po natin sa paligid natin na halimbawa yung mga heavy objects or mga kagamitan sa bahay na pwedeng maggalaw. At dito po sa intensity 6 pwede na pong mag-crack yung mga wall plaster or yung mga very old or poorly built houses and human-made structure ay pwede na ring masira. Pero sa intensity 6, wala pa pong epekto sa structure or sa mga well-built structure natin. Sa intensity 7 naman po ay ang tinatawag natin na destructive or mapaminsala. So makikita natin na pwede nang masira hindi lamang yung mga furniture built na slightly damaged. Yun po yung pagkakaiba ng 6 at 7. Makikita na din po natin sa 7 na ang mga puno ay talagang gumagalaw or nagsishake na. Pwede na rin po tayong makakita ng mga cracks sa mga dike, fish ponds, sa mga daan, or even sa mga concrete hollow blocks wall. Then pagdating po sa intensity 8, ito po yung very destructive or lubusang mapaminsala. Nagpapanik po yung mga tao, nahihirapang bumalanse ang mga tao sa labas. Yung mga well-built building ay talagang sira na. Pwede na rin pong masira yung mga dike at maging mga tulay ay talagang masisira. Karamihan po sa intensity 8 sa mga mountain area ay nagkakaroon ng mga landslide at nagsisihulugang mga bato. Pagdating po sa intensity 9, ito po yung devastating or mapanalanta. At intensity 10, ito po yung completely devastating or lubusang mapanalanta. If you're reading news or article or you are watching TV, you will hear or read the word magnitude. Just like this one, this picture is from CNN, which is a 6.3 earthquake from Calatagan, Batangas. It happened exactly on Christmas Day last year. As well as this one in Davao last December 16, 2020. Another term you may see or notice is the word intensity. Now, what is magnitude and what does intensity mean? So, a magnitude to an earthquake refers to the amount of energy released. So, it is measured by amount of ground displacement based on the seismograph, and it is represented by Arabic numbers. For example, 4.8, 9.0, or 6.3. Intensity, on the other hand, is the strength of an earthquake as perceived and felt by people. So again, magnitude is based on the seismograph, but this one is the strength perceived and felt by people. You need to remember that intensity is generally higher near than the epicenter, and it is represented by Roman numerals. Now, people and properties are affected by earthquake due to any or combination of the following. First, unsafe location. Second, poor construction. Next, people don't believe or know that they are affected. Next one is people don't know how they can be affected. People don't know what to do. And lastly, lack of timely and proper response. As we learn or talk about the other objectives for earthquake, there are at least 5 earthquake-related hazards that we need to consider. First, ground rupture, ground shaking, liquefaction, earthquake caused by a landslide, and lastly, tsunami. So that is why there are maps that shows different hazard that may affect your area. So I will show you an example. This one shows you the ground shaking map of Kawayan City, Isabela. And this one shows you the liquefaction map on Kawayan City, Isabela. The next objective of our topic is disaster preparedness on earthquake. We are going to talk about the things we need to do before, during, and after an earthquake. The key to effective disaster planning is prevention. So here is the tips we need to do before an earthquake happens. First, know the earthquake hazard in your area. Prepare your home, workplace, or school. So you need to strap or bolt heavy furniture's cabinet to the walls. Check the stability of hanging objects like ceiling fans and chandeliers. Next is breakable items. Harmful materials and flammable materials should properly in the lowermost secured shelves. Basically, preparation is a must. So we need to have an earthquake emergency kit. These are the things you will be needing in your emergency kit. First, water, non-perishable foods, a can opener, first aid kit, flashlight and a whistle, batteries, a power bank, important documents, and last, extra cash. We need also to always participate in earthquake drill so that we are knowledgeable enough about it. We can practice the emergency drill at home like this.
Wait until the aftershock is finished. Cover your head with your hands or use an object that can protect your head from falling objects or debris.
Go outside very carefully and avoid any obstruction. Walk towards an open area to avoid falling structure and stay down after shaking stops. Here are the things you need to do during an earthquake. First, if possible, quickly open the door exit. Second, duck under a study desk table and on it protect your head with your arms. Third, stay away from glass, windows, shelves, cabinet, and other heavy objects. And for fourth, be aware of falling objects, be alert and keep your eyes open. If you are outside, move to an open area. Stay away from trees, power lines, posts, and concrete structures. Move away from steep slopes which may be affected by landslides. What are you going to do after an earthquake? Be prepared for aftershocks. Once the shaking stops, take fastest and safest way out of the building. If you are in the mall or you have an elevator at home, do not use it. Next, do not enter damaged buildings. Do not use telephones unless very necessary. And do not panic but stay calm. If you need to evacuate, leave a message staying where you are and bring your emergency supply kit. Keep updated on disaster instruction from battery-operated radios.